It's easy to love the SNES Mini, unless you're in the US and have that horrible purple thing, but for the rest of us it's easy, because it's great. A gorgeous little lump of nostalgic joy you can splatter all over your screen playing some of the greatest games ever made, games that are still fun to play even today, and just having a bloody good time of it. Now, obviously I want to complain about something, and it's hard to do that when I'm so utterly enamoured with something like this. Still, I have found something. There's games missing from the SNES Mini, games I wanted, games that should have been on it, games that are in this list. Shadowrun. Ah, Shadowrun. Great game. Top-down RPG with deeper elements than you might have expected from a Western-style RPG in the 90s. Dark, very bloody Blade Runner-y, obtuse at times, and the kind of thing that just sticks with you for how totally unique it was for the SNES. You'll note from my playing of Shadowrun here that I am both excellent at it and definitely remember what I should be doing at all times. But please don't let that distract you from the fact that this is a game that deserves to be played and remembered by all. It wasn't the best because, god, things were limited by technology and dodgy controls and all manner of other things back in the early 90s, but Shadowrun was incredibly forward-looking in its approach to video games. A lot of modern titles owe even more to this forgotten gem. Alright, it's not forgotten as everyone brings it up all the time, but yeah, forgotten gem, I'm sticking with that, deal with it. Why isn't it on the SNES Mini? Well, Beam, the studio that made Shadowrun, has been gobbled up a couple of times and ended under the stewardship of Krome Studios, which as far as I'm aware shut them down in order to concentrate on, well, rubbish. We ain't seeing this one again anytime soon. The Firemen. Every single day of my life I am bewildered that more people don't know and adore the Firemen like I do. Okay, it probably isn't every single day, more just any day I think about the game, which, to be honest, is actually most days. Anyway, the Firemen was made by a student development team about 32 million years ago and sees players take control of a fireman with an AI buddy, hence the plural title. You tackle a towering inferno, probably influenced by that popular fire-in-a-building-based thriller, Jaws. You move from floor to floor, extinguishing Prometheus's favourite plaything, rescuing survivors and tackling the odd boss fight, usually a malfunctioning robot or just a giant sentient fire. It is ridiculously good for what it is and a constant source of fun, maybe even joy in my otherwise meek and pointless life. There was a sequel on the PlayStation, but beyond that I can't think of any other appearances the Firemen have made, barring that PS Vita homage I've forgotten the name of right now. The SNES Mini would have been the ideal opportunity to put the Firemen where it deserves to be, front and centre and with a whole new potential audience of people ready and willing to finally give it the love and mainstream acceptance it deserves. Can you tell I like this game? Not sure if it's coming across, I'm often told I'm too down on things. Chrono Trigger. So you've got Final Fantasy 3 or 6 or whichever you want to pretend it is and Secret of Mana included with the SNES Mini. Great, brilliant, games worth a place in anybody's best of collections and a fine way of showing off just what was so great about the superb Nintendo. But there's quite the gap in that lineup thanks to the really rather large spectre of Chrono Trigger hanging over everything. It's not only one of my favourite games on any format ever, even though I never managed to finish it because the last boss was too hard, stop judging me, but it's one of the best RPGs, period. It's up there with FF3, 6 and Mana, and to some, to many, to me, it surpasses them both. A time-travelling adventure the likes of which we've seen surprisingly few of in the world of gaming, Chrono Trigger told a story you could care about, featured characters who were both unique and interesting in their motivations, and best of all, had time travel. Only joking, the best thing was Frog, a character in your party who was a frog who was originally named Glenn when he was still a human. They just don't make them like they used to. I do struggle to understand why Chrono Trigger didn't make it to the SNES Mini, and I hope there's a bloody good reason for it, because as it stands, it's the kind of decision that makes me want to storm Nintendo HQ with a big placard saying I'm a bit miffed by this on it. Gits. NBA Jam TE. Come on now, who wouldn't want this one? Okay, so Midway, who made the game, no longer exists. The last NBA Jam was released by EA, and there'd be licensing issues up the wazoo, not just with the NBA teams, but the now retired players and plentiful celebrity appearances throughout. So yeah, I never actually expected NBA Jam T to be included with the SNES Mini, but this isn't a list of games I expected to be on the SNES Mini, it's games that should have been on it. And good god, NBA Jam T should be on every gaming system ever made forever. Pure arcade joy with some simple, straightforward, ridiculously fun systems, the ability to turn on the option that litters the game with power-ups, including the ability to dunk from anywhere, which is the best thing games have ever done, and, get this, a basic commentary system those of us who've played it first time around are still quoting. It's got it all, basically, and would have been such a wonderful inclusion on the SNES Mini's lineup. Super Bomberman 2. Yes, it should be the original and blah-de-blah. No. See, Super Bomberman 2 perfected the formula for what became one of the greatest series on the SNES. The first game is absolutely a classic, of that I have no doubt, but it was the second game that refined the formula and made it something to truly cherish for generations to come. Obviously that's not how Nintendo sees it, as they've not bothered forking out whatever cashola to Konami would have been necessary to get them some tubby little blaster action on the SNES Mini. Maybe it's because you can't play with 4 people on the newish console, so they don't want to upset us all by reminding us of just what we're missing out on. Or, you know, just let us use a multi-tap or connect more controllers via Bluetooth. For God's sake, just let us play 4-player Bomberman. It's one of the best things in the world and people are missing out. They're missing out! Sorry, I think I'm gonna cry. Oh, and Hudson Soft was merged into Konami back in 2012. I bloody know Hudson Soft made the bloody game, shut up. Zombies ate my neighbours. I cried, "Zombies ate my neighbours!" the first time I saw Shaun of the Dead in the cinema thanks to the trampoline over the fence bit. Yes, it's the kind of game that didn't just leave a mark on us as kids, but one that carried over into adulthood for carefully crafted nerd personas like Simon Pegg. Why? Well, it's a pretty basic top-ish down shooter in the vein of, I don't know, Robotron? Except less manic? The game itself isn't why people have such fondness in their heart for zombies, nah. It's all about the setting, the design, the aesthetic. Riffing on 50s B-movies and making the combat decidedly childlike in the most part, your main weapon is a water gun and you can lob tomatoes at the undead, Zombies Ate My Neighbours keyed into something with those of us who played it when we were young. It was cool, it was how we imagined ourselves during the inevitable Day of the Dead, and even though you might never want to publicly admit it, wearing old school 3D glasses is awesome. Why didn't this one end up on the re-release console then? Well, probably because Disney and LucasArts and that whole morass of childhood destroying crap that's been going on since the 2012 takeover. Poor, sad LucasArts. And no, we'll never see Ghoul Patrol either. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. I do think this one is firmly rooted in the concept of powerful nostalgia, which would sound better if I put an echo effect on it. But the fact is, back in the day it was nigh on impossible to get a decent take on the Turtles arcade game without, well, being in an arcade. They were smelly, dank rooms from the past where nerds would assemble to play with and against each other at brilliant and terrible games. I beat a guy at World Heroes once and I've never forgotten it. Button bash you gets you places. Anyway, Turtles in Time was the first thing we had on our home machines that accurately replicated the style of play seen in the arcade classic, so it's gone down in SNES-shaped history as one of the best games on the machine. And you know what? It's shallow and some of those bosses cheat their asses off, but there's no denying this is great fun to this day, especially when you throw another player into the mix. Obviously it would never come to the SNES Mini though, what with the licensing issues and all that joy entails. Ah, and indeed, well, International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. PES got good again a couple of years ago, so we don't actually need to have any other football games around to keep us going. All the same, for a nostalgia blast right in the breadbasket, ISS Deluxe is the way to go. With it not featuring genuine teams, just nations, and made-up player names, I see little to no reason why this shouldn't have made its way into the SNES Mini. I mean, Konami has included other titles on the machine, and it's not like they're doing anything else with their time besides making licensed pachinko things, a PES a year, and trying to ruin Metal Gear Solid, is it? ISS Deluxe is simple footballing fun from a simpler time, back when we could unironically like the England national team. Complex beyond its basic controls and with more than enough Easter eggs to keep you amused, see Dog Ref for that, ISS Deluxe would have been an ideal inclusion, as well as yet another reason for me to batter opponents with a shoulder barge and hear the greatest bit of in-game commentary ever. Dirty play, ref! Wild Guns. You realise Wild Guns was re-released very recently, at the time of making this video, on PS4, right? You didn't? Yeah, that's probably because it had zero fanfare and cost about 300 quid, though I'm maybe misremembering the precise amount they were charging. Basically, it's one of the most tone-deaf re-releases I've ever seen. With that in mind, Nintendo should have tapped up Natsumi, or those of Harvest Moon glory, to wang Wild Guns on the SNES Mini. It's a perfect example of a game that maintains its appeal in the modern day thanks to both the fact it's just really good fun to play, and because it looks fantastic, with a steampunky Wild West setting, letting you shoot bandits and giant robots alike. The game itself is a bit simplistic, sure, with you just running about on a 2D plane and shooting into the screen at all manner of enemies, but as a quick pick-me-up, and especially as a multiplayer title, it holds its own against much newer, shinier, less cowboy-y games. Yeehaw? Unirally. Called Uni Racers in the States for some reason, Uni Rally, as it's correctly known by those of us who correctly called a console a SNES, was a unicycle racing game, with stunts, made by pre-Rockstar North DMA design. That's about it, really. Oh, it was also and is also brilliant. Another one that's fairly limited but absolutely brilliant in short bursts, especially with friends. Uni Rally absolutely should have been included with the SNES Mini. It was never going to happen though, thanks to the fact that Pixar successfully sued DMA. See, back in the 80s, the fledgling animation studio made a short film featuring a red unicycle, Red's Dream, which bore some resemblance to, well, a unicycle. And so, the unicycle's in Uni Rally. For some reason, a judge ruled that DMA, in making a unicycle that looked like a unicycle, was too similar to Pixar's unicycle they'd made, based on a unicycle. As such, Nintendo was forced to stop producing copies of the game. Now that Pixar is Disney, I don't think Ninty wants to poke that particular bear's nest, and so we're left with a dead and forgotten game. Pilotwings. You heard about the SNES Mini and, before reading anything about it, confidently reclined in your pleather office seat, clumsily pushed your spectacles back up your sweaty face and proclaimed, "Why yes, Pilotwings will be all over the miniature console re-release from the former playing card manufacturing company. It would be foolish of them not to include a much-loved launch title for the SNES, and churlish of me to even consider a world where Ninty thought, no, he won't put that game on that there tiny console. And now I shall recline even further into horizontal victory, ha ha." Well, I'm sorry, but you were wrong, you silly bugger. There's no Pilotwings on the SNES Mini, and while it might seem like not including this flight sim up is nothing other than the purest form of idiocy, there is a good reason for it. Wait, sorry, I said good reason? I meant no reason I can think of. Pilotwings is still great fun and harks back to the very beginnings of the SNES. It's also a unique proposition, something you don't get too much of in gaming. It not being on the Mini absolutely beggars belief. Super Mario All-Stars. Okay, so this one might end up being a bit pointless, seeing as the NES Mini already featured the first 3 Mario games, and while it didn't feature the lost levels like Mario All-Stars did, I don't think that's quite enough of an impetus to put this on the SNES Mini, but at the same time, it is, to me, the best way to play the original Mario games. They look better, they're all in one little package, and there's not much other actual reasoning here, but I have to say something to make it a list of 3. Really, it just comes down to the fact that I didn't have a NES and did have a SNES, and All-Stars is the first way I actually experienced Mario games of my own. That sort of nostalgia, well, as Nintendo's realised, it sells consoles, even if it would be a bit of a dumb move to put 3 games on 2 consoles in a row. Hang on a minute, Nintendo literally did that in real life with more than just 3 games. Ignore everything I just said, this is me being absolutely 100% right. Super Mario All-Stars should have been included on the SNES Mini's lineup, so there. And that, chums, is what you call a list feature. I'm sure you might have opinions of your own, so add them below and I might pop in to tell you why you're wrong. Please do like, share, subscribe, dance like everybody's watching, write disturbing fanfiction about your favourite shopkeepers, learn how to backflip then never actually do it, and follow my instructions to a T. Bye!